Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss this very interesting topic of chemistry called as the Le Chatelier's principle, which has a wide number of applications not just in the field of chemistry but also in real life. Okay, before we get into the concept, let's try to understand what is this image trying to convey to us. In this photo we can see that we have three seesaws. In the first seesaw, there is an imbalance that has been created. Maybe there is a kid who is sitting over here. So, since this side is empty, the kid has exerted his weight and the seesaw is not in a balanced position. So is the case with seesaw number 3, where some other kid must be sitting on the other side of the seesaw, once again creating an imbalance. Now in the middle one, we see that there is a perfect balance that has been created, which is probably because there are two kids who are trying to maintain this balance by using their force. Now imagine I bring a stone, a very heavy stone, and I put it on this position. What do you expect to happen? Of course, this side will go on the downward side. But this kid will try his best not to let that happen. So he will also try to exert more of his force so that the seesaw remains in a balanced position. From this we can say that whenever there is an external change, like in this case this particular stone, the other side tries to do something so that it is able to nullify the effect that has been caused by the outer change. Okay, so let's talk this in the terms of chemistry. Imagine I have this box where I have hydrogen molecules, nitrogen molecules and ammonia molecules. This we have is called a very famous manufacturing process of ammonia called as the Bosch-Haber process. In this, there exists a perfect equilibrium between these three gases: the nitrogen, the hydrogen and the resultant product, that is the ammonia. Now imagine I bring some water and I add it into this container. Since we know that hydrogen and nitrogen are non-polar molecules, whereas water is a polar molecule. So obviously these two gases will not dissolve in water, whereas ammonia, being a highly polar molecule, will readily dissolve in water. Now as I add the water, the ammonia in this will readily dissolve in water, which means that the equilibrium of the gaseous ammonia molecules has been disturbed and the number of these ammonia molecules has been decreased. Now as we saw in the last example, whenever there is a change from outside, the other side tries to do something so that it is able to nullify the change that is happening. So in this case, the reaction will try to move in the forward direction because the nitrogen and the hydrogen will react even more so that they are able to restore the ammonia molecules which are being lost because they are being dissolved in water. This way the reaction will move towards the forward direction. Okay, and this example, in this how we considered it was that we changed the concentration. We reduced the concentration of ammonia so that the reaction occurred in the forward direction. And now if I think about the reversed case where I add excess of ammonia gas from outside, the reaction will move in the backward direction so that the equilibrium is maintained once again. So from here we come to the definition of this particular principle, that whenever a system at equilibrium is a very important word here, is subjected to a change in any of its reaction conditions, And we know that we can change the reaction conditions by either changing the concentration, as we discussed in the last example, or by changing the pressure, or by changing the temperature conditions, which means that the equilibrium, and whenever this happens, that is, there is any change in concentration, pressure, or temperature, the equilibrium shifts it in the direction that tends to undo the effect of change. So basically what the system is going to do is to maintain the equilibrium, and it will do whatever it takes to let that happen. Now let's see the change in the effect of pressure. Imagine we have a particular cylinder where we have some gaseous molecules. Now I exert some pressure from the outside. As I exert the pressure, the molecules will come closer to each other. That is, the volume of the molecules, the volume of the gases before, will reduce later as we increase the amount of pressure that we exert. Taking a life example of that, whenever we go to an uncle who fills balloons, we know that he has a cylinder which he uses to fill balloons. Now, we know that that cylinder has helium gas in it. But do you think it has helium gas in it? No. That helium is actually converted into liquid form, because if we try to store a gas in a particular cylinder, we won't be able to store much quantity in it. That is why whenever a gas is stored in any container, a lot of pressure is applied so that it converts into liquid form, and we can store a lot of gas in a small container as well. Like we can take the example of deodorants, because the deodorants in their bottle, they are liquid in nature, but once you spray them, they turn into a gas. And how are those bottles filled? By applying a lot of pressure so that the gaseous molecules turn into liquid molecules. For example, see this example where we have SO2 gas, oxygen gas, both reacting with each other to give us SO3 gas. The reactants we have 3 moles, whereas in the products we have 2 moles. So if we increase the pressure of this reaction, the reaction will move towards the forward direction, because whenever there is an increase in pressure, the system at equilibrium, it favors a reaction in the direction that produces lower number of moles, and a decrease in pressure would obviously favor the opposite of this. If the pressure is increased, lower number of moles are preferred, like in this case, and if the pressure is decreased, the reverse of that will happen. Now looking at the third example, we see the effect of temperature. Since we know that reactions are of 2 types, one is endothermic and the other one is exothermic. Endothermic reactions are those in which the energy is absorbed, or we can say the heat is absorbed. And exothermic reactions are those reactions in which the heat is released. For example, think about it. When you make tea, the more the temperature you increase, the faster the formation of the tea occurs, which means that it is an endothermic reactions because it is absorbing heat, and the more the temperature you increase, the faster your tea is made, which shows that whenever the temperature is increased in case of endothermic reactions, the rate of forward reaction increases. And of course, when the temperature is decreased, if you decrease the temperature of your tea, it will take more time to be made, so the backward rate increases. And in case of exothermic reactions, the heat is released, so obviously they will prefer those conditions in which the temperature is low. So if the temperature is low, the forward rate will increase, and if the temperature is increased, the backward rate will increase. Now, looking at the applications of this process, Le Chatelier's principle has a lot of applications, but the main application that it has is in industry. In industry, it is mainly used to increase the yield and the output. That is, the efficiency of a particular process is increased using the Le Chatelier's principle. For example, we have a lime kiln where calcium carbonate, which is solid, is heated to get lime, and the other product that we get is carbon dioxide gas. Now, we know that by Le Chatelier's principle, if we change the concentration on one side, the other side will try to nullify it and move the reaction in the direction of the product that is being lost. So in a lime kiln, there are exhaust fans that are attached, which actually remove the air from this kiln. Removing the air means that all the gases inside the kiln are removed. So the CO2 gas is repeatedly removed again and again, and the reaction shifts towards a forward direction more and more, which means that the efficiency of this particular reaction increases. Because the more we remove this product, the more the reaction will move towards a forward direction, and the more efficiency of that reaction will be, because the entire reactant will try to convert into the product. And obviously, all the industries want their entire reactant to convert into product. So this is all about Le Chatelier's principle. This has a lot of other applications as well as a lot of numerical applications as well, which we will cover in the other lessons. I hope you liked it and you understood the concept. Thank you, everyone.